Hello followers, my name is Mr. M. Fretwell and welcome to my Minecraft tutorial series. This is episode 33 and today we're going to be going down to the Nether and we're going to be starting a sort of almost like a mini series I guess of tutorials relating to the Nether and stuff in the Nether. So if you're wondering where I am, I'm right here. The blacksmith is down there, we're in the wizard's tower. So I actually just built a little room underneath to save a bit of time off camera. I might tweak it around a bit yet, such as carry on the log all the way down here, but for now it'll do. I just wanted to build this small little room off camera so that I have a place for the Nether Portal, so we're going to put it underneath the wizard's tower. So this will provide us with a nice sinister portal effect and sound as well down here. So the first thing that we need to consider is that there is a few key resources in the Nether that we are going to be able to finally get access to now. I've been holding off for a long time because generation changed in the Nether in 1.5, and we'll be able to get access finally to some resources like the netherrack so that I can finish the forge, amongst a few other things. So that's why we're going to the Nether now. The big thing we're going to get access to is brewing, and for that we're going to build our own brewery, and I think we're going to build it over there somewhere. Not entirely sure yet, but that is the big thing about going to the Nether. Today is going to be a general Nether tutorial. We are going to be going more in depth with certain things in the Nether as we get further into them. For example, there are fortresses down there that we're going to have a look at in a separate tutorial, as there's a lot to talk about with them. And in the Nether in general has a lot to talk about, so I even have a document prepared that I've got right here that I can double check from to make sure I'm telling you guys the right stuff. But this is going to be a big tutorial, there's a lot to talk about, so please bear with me if you know some of this stuff. It will get better, I can assure you. So we are going to first build a Nether Portal. So the Nether Portal is constructed from obsidian, and once again, me being me, I did all the stuff off camera collecting obsidian. I did show how to collect obsidian when we did the enchantment table up there, so now it's just a case of building this thing. So to build a Nether Portal you need to get 4 in along the floor. You can put this at any height, it doesn't have to be at this one, just 4 along the floor, and then you need to go up 3 like so, and then you need to connect it up at the top, and this is the frame for the Nether. This is the frame for the Nether Portal. Now if you don't have a lot of obsidian like I have, you can actually cut out the corners, including those 2 down there as well, and it doesn't matter, it will function without the corners, and that is called a economy version. But I'm going to build the full thing, and this is the Nether Portal frame. The next thing we need to do is actually light this portal, because at the moment if I stand inside this I ain't going anywhere, to be honest. So we need to light it up, and we do that with a flint and steel, and the flint and steel is crafted with a piece of flint and a piece of iron, and you get flint and steel. And I may have done a tutorial on these before, I may have not, but this thing is the lighter for the Nether Portal. To light the Nether Portal we need to right click inside, and this then makes the Nether Portal gateway. So this is the Nether Portal gateway. So before we leave for the Nether, I want to talk to you guys about some of the supplies that we're going to need to bring to the Nether, and we have been preparing for a good while for all the different stuff that we're going to need. Generally I brought most of it in my inventory already. I'm going to deposit the obsidian because I don't want to lose that. I did spend a while collecting that. The gravel actually could be handy. So you're going to need your standard adventuring stuff, so that's sword, bow, arrows, pickaxe, shovel. You won't need an axe down there for anything unless you decide to build out of wood, but that'll be a bad idea as stuff will then set on fire because that's a hell-like realm. Yeah, actually I didn't explain that, but basically the Nether is a hell-like realm. It's everything that this world isn't. This world, if you're unaware, is called the Overworld. So all of this stuff is the Overworld. But the Nether realm, which is through that portal we just created down there, is a realm of hell, despair and sadness, to be quite honest. Full of lava. Lava flows faster, it's a lot more dangerous than the Overworld. There is no day or night cycle or anything like that, so I'll talk about that more when we get down there. But as you can tell from the things I'm saying, we need to bring certain items. So you need to bring some building blocks, quite a few building blocks, as we're going to have to secure the portal on the other side, because ghasts are a mob in the Nether that fly around and they shoot fireballs at you, and if a fireball hits the portal it destroys it. So we want to protect the portal. Now we can relight the portal using the flint and steel, so it's always vital to bring a flint and steel into the Nether with you. If you don't, you could end up trapped there. Then you have to kill yourself to basically end up getting back to the overworld. So if you die in the Nether, you come back to the overworld at your bed spawn point. So that's something to consider. We're going to bring this flint and steel along with us for this trip. You're going to need food. Torches aren't that useful in the Nether, but we're bringing a few along anyway to help mark off a few key points. Beds do not work in the Nether. If you put one down it will explode, so it's no good. Compasses and clocks, they will not work, and I will show you that when we get into the Nether. They don't work. Maps don't work properly either. If you want to know more in depth about the maps, then I would check the wiki out, because that's quite a complicated thing as to why they don't work and what happens with maps. So we're not going to talk about that today. Sticks, obviously, I just have this spare plank right here, which we will do something with, I'm sure. Water doesn't work either. I will show you that when we get into the Nether, so that's kind of redundant there as well. Also remember to bring all your armor, preferably enchanted with at least low level enchants, but if you don't have enchanting, don't worry, just make sure that your armor is at least iron. That's what I would recommend for the Nether. So I think we've talked enough about the Nether, so I think it's about time that we actually enter the Nether. Now the thing is, we could get bombarded on the other side by all sorts of crazy things, so that's something we're going to have to take into serious consideration. So that's why I'm trying to be as prepared as possible. We do have a bed up here, so if we come back and it's night time, I could just sleep in that one. So we've obviously built the Nether portal, we've lit it, so it's time to explore. So to go into the Nether, you need to stand in the portal, and you'll get the swirly effect, and it will begin to download the terrain. The Nether is actually a completely separate dimension. It needs to create new chunks. It's an entirely different dimension to what the overworld is. And when you first spawn, you may notice a bit of lag. That's the world loading. It generating, in fact, for the first time. So, as you can see, this is the Nether. And we can hear the eerie cries of the ghast while we are here. So it's going to be a bit laggy for a while. It's going to be worse for me because I'm actually going to be recording. So the unwanted thing is lava right here. That's never ideal. Man, I'm getting some serious FPS hits here. I'm going to drop my smooth lighting down to minimum. I don't know why it's on maximum. This should begin to help. It's still generating a fair bit yet, so just be patient with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duck into this little thing right here and create maybe a little outpost while I talk to you guys, so I don't end up being shot at by ghasts and God knows what. So I'm just going to carve this out. This stuff is netherrack. It's very low in terms of resistance. You can mine it with any pickaxe, wood included. So this is a fairly easy block to work with. And netherrack has the unique property that in both the Nether and the overworld, this can actually be lit and it will burn forever. So people use it for fireplaces and stuff. And we're going to grab some of this stuff and bring it back to the forge, because we can finally light the fire where the anvil is. So I'm just going to carve a bit more of this out. There we are. And I'm going to put in some lighting. I don't know, right there. Just so that we have a bit of lighting in here. Because the Nether is a lot darker, should I say, than the overworld. You can put torches up, but fire is a bit nicer. Let's do something a bit different. So, now we're here, I want to talk briefly to you about the terrain. Basically, the Nether is a huge open cave system, is basically what it is. It's all indoors, there's no outside in the Nether. And it's comprised, as I said, mostly of netherrack, which is this stuff, the kind of, some people call it bloodstone, because it's red and it kind of looks like cobblestone but covered in blood. And this is the main block in the Nether. You'll find it everywhere. It becomes a pain after a while because you get so much of it, but there we go. We actually do have a use for netherrack, and we might do that in the next tutorial. You can actually smelt this down into a new item called the nether brick, and then we can make nether brick blocks from that, and we can use those to build with. So you can use these to build with, but these are very low to blast resistance. Gas will destroy them in the nether, creepers in the overworld, and they're not the best building material, to be honest. They only make for decoration, occasionally for fire and stuff. So that's that. Also, you may have noticed when we were in the nether earlier, and we just entered, yeah, this stuff. This is glowstone. Glowstone is the only natural light source in the nether. So glowstone can be used in the overworld to light stuff up, and it's great for stuff underwater because it is basically like a torch block in a sense, really. And we can also craft these into lamps, amongst other things, and we'll get more into what glowstone can do in later episodes. But I am going to bring some of that back as well, because I can actually light up those parts around my home that were pretty dark before. So we're going to light those up as well by grabbing some glowstone. Now you may see out here as well, there are some blocks that look like netherrack. You can see some just off in the distance there, just to the very left of my screen. It's kind of like got 3 sort of scars on it, and that is nether quartz. And nether quartz can be used in some new recipes in 1.5 for redstone stuff, comparators and that, and we'll discuss those again in later episodes. And it can also be used for some nice decorative blocks too, and we'll get into those as well. I have a plan for those blocks coming up soon, so we'll collect some nether quartz at some point. But for that, I'm going to go back once I've secured this area and actually get myself the really good diamond pick to get multiple quartz. So there's also another block here called soul sand, and I haven't seen any soul sand, but soul sand is a block that slows you down. It's brown, it's mined with a shovel just like sand, and it slows you down, and you can actually grow something on it called netherwort. And I spoke about this in an earlier tutorial. We need netherwort for brewing. Again, I'll get to all of that. I just want to mention the main blocks in this area. As well as that, there is also gravel, which is just the same as overworld gravel. So that's that. In 1.5, there is hidden lava generated randomly in the nether, so if I was to go digging around here, I might end up with odd single blocks of lava. So just be careful when mining in the nether from 1.5 onwards. It could become quite dangerous, so just keep that in mind. Whoops. So that's just something to consider. There are certain things that are, in terms of lava, that are slightly changed. Lava will flow faster in the nether than it does in the overworld, and it will spread 8 blocks instead of the usual 4. So that's something that you need to consider as well. So certain things are affected in the nether if you bring them here from the overworld. You can bring grass here using silk touch, so you can actually have grass in the nether. It will look much like it does in desert biomes, kind of burnt and very dark greenish. But you can actually have it in this area. Trees can grow in the nether if you bring bone meal with you, but you need to make sure it's again in a nice large open area. The problem is with growing trees in the nether, however, lava tends to burn it up, unfortunately, and fires. So I wouldn't recommend growing trees here unless you really have to. So yeah, that's that. One other thing that we need to talk about, which I mentioned in the overworld, is compasses and clocks. Just look at them on my hotbar, they're going insane down there. Compasses and clocks do not work in the nether. So that's something that you also need to consider. You can't tell the time here, nor can you tell your spawn. It just kind of spins around aimlessly, so they are affected by the nether. That's because there's no day or night cycle, and the spawn point is in the overworld, but you could technically say where you need to be is the portal. So that's that. There's not more really to say. I already explained about beds exploding. I'm not going to show that off because I'll probably die through it. So that's something that we need to that we've covered as well. So there are 6 types of mobs in the nether. And just before I go on about the mobs, sorry if you find this very rambly. I will probably put in some sort of maybe title saying that where you can skip to if you want to see the action, but I do want to talk to you about all this stuff if you're unfamiliar with the nether. Sorry if it kind of goes on a bit. So there are 6 different types of mob in the Nether. There are ghasts, zombie pigmen, blazers, magma cubes, wither skeletons, and normal skeletons. Now out there you can see a zombie pigman in that lava. So zombie pigmen are neutral by default. However, hitting one with a tool or weapon, so my pickaxe or sword, or shooting the bow at him and it hits him, then all the other zombie pigmen and himself will get aggravated, so they come and attack you basically. So this is the problem with zombie pigmen. If you attack one, all the ones in the area will swarm around you. There's a couple over there, so that guy, if I hit that guy would start running towards me. So they tend to swarm you, which can be a big concern. So you can die very quickly with them. I tend to avoid them, but some people like to farm them, and I can see why they farm them, but they are dangerous mobs. They have a 2-block reach, and as you can see they wield golden swords, and those golden swords hit you as if you were hitting them with one, so they deal a lot of damage. I believe on normal mode, which is what we're playing on, they deal, I think, 5 full hearts, so you're almost down to half health with one hit. So avoid them where possible. So yeah, that covers them. They sometimes will drop, well, sometimes they'll drop rotten flesh, just like zombies will. Golden nuggets, which is kind of a special drop, but we can actually get golden nuggets directly from gold ingots. And they will also occasionally really drop their swords. Some of them contain enchanted swords with some pretty basic enchantments on them, like Fire Aspect 1 or Smite 1 or something like that. So that's something to consider as well. You might want to farm them for that purpose. They also have a small random chance to drop some gold armor as well, so stuff like helmets and that, which you might want to farm them for. Personally, gold is not a great tool to work with, so I probably wouldn't farm them for that. But yeah. One final thing to mention with zombie pigmen is if you attack one near the portal, then zombie pigmen that have spawned in the portal in the overworld will also be hostile towards you, and vice versa. So if you attack one in the overworld, then those in the nether nearby will also be hostile to you. So these guys have the unique ability to spawn near portals in the overworld, and they can also wander through to the other side as well. That was a feature introduced in 1.3 where we can send mobs through portals now, and these guys have a habit of wandering through to the other side. So just be aware of that. Don't start flailing your sword around as soon as you get to the overworld. That's why I would recommend putting your portal in a safe place on both sides of the gateway. So that pretty much covers everything about zombie pigmen. So the other main mob in the nether is the ghast, and the ghast is 4x4x4 blocks. It's the biggest mob aside from the boss mob in the game, the Ender Dragon. So the ghast is sort of like a floating thing. It looks like a floating jellyfish, and when it sees you, it will shoot fireballs at you. And these can be easily deflected either with a bow or deflecting the fireball back at the ghast. They are easily defeatable with a bow. I'm trying to see if one has spawned anywhere, but it doesn't look like it. If you hear those like little baby noises around the nether, they might seem like ambient noise. That is actually a ghast. So always be on the lookout for ghast. They have a habit of spawning in places that you don't want, so always be careful of that. One thing to consider though is with hitting the fireball back at them and doing what we call ghast tennis, so hitting the fireball back at the ghast, then you might accidentally hit a pigman, aggravating the pigmen in the area. So I would recommend trying to take it out directly with the bow, but equally you could also end up in a mess with that as well by hitting a pigman with your bow arrow. So that's pretty much everything about ghasts really. We will probably look at combat as we are in the nether with these mobs as time progresses. For right now I just want to give you the overview to the nether. Beyond that, we have one final mob which is available rarely all over the nether, and that is a magma cube. Now you may have seen when we did the caving episode slimes, and slimes are like this cube-like thing that hops around and they attack you that way. The nether variant of the slime is the magma cube. A magma cube's sort of like spring. They're like a spring-like mob. They hop around, their body separates, and then it comes back together again as they hop around. Attacking them will make them split into smaller variants of themselves, just like slimes, and they will also hop towards the player. If killed, they will, even if the small ones get killed, they will occasionally drop magma cream, which we can use in brewing. So they are the main mobs in the nether. There are more mobs in the nether, blazers and the wither skeletons, and we'll get to them as we progress when we look at nether fortresses. That's always something to consider. So, next up on the list is to protect this portal so that we are safe. So this is the point in the video where we actually start doing things. So we've spent a good 15 minutes or so talking now. Now it's time to concentrate on the actual good stuff. So mushrooms grow naturally down here. You'll find them quite commonly around. They grow in this light level. So just leave them and they'll spread, and you can harvest them from time to time if you want to do that, and you can get yourself some mushroom soup. And I hear ghasts all around, but I don't see any. So we'll take advantage of that and build a little constructed thing around this portal. So I just want to leave a bit of room either side. And I'm getting a lot of lag here. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm going to switch down to fast graphics. There we are, much better. Performance in the nether is much higher than in the overworld, so that's always something to consider as well when actually building here. So just bear that in mind. You don't want to end up falling into lava through lag. So always be aware of that. For me, it seems to be okay on this fast graphics setting. So what I'm doing right now, if you're unaware, is I'm constructing a little sort of like shelter for my nether portal, so it don't get blowed up. Because if it gets blowed up, then we could have some issues. The obsidian won't get blew up, but I don't want to have to try and relight it. I just want to kind of get on with the tutorial. So I'm using cobblestone. Cobblestone is the cheapest blast resistant block I guess available. Stuff like dirt is going to get blow up, but cobblestone will hold firm. I'll probably put a door in there later or something similar, something of that nature. So that noise you're hearing is the portal. If you are in creative mode and you go to the nether, you will instantly warp between the two dimensions rather than having that little wait that you have using survival. So this is not a huge task, but it needs to be kind of done. The top of the nether portal will be safe. We don't need to worry about that too much. So I'm just going to finish this up quickly. Get this wrapped up right here. That'll do for now. I'll probably tweak it more off camera. But there we are, we've protected the portal. So before we leave the nether for today's episode, I'm going to mark that off because we have a little base in there. And I'm going to collect myself some glowstone. I've got my nether rack that I wanted. And we'll leave the nether quartz for the time being. We'll probably get some of that next time. To be honest, it's just going to be easier that way. Now we're going to have to be careful up here because a ghast could fire at me, and I'm not on a sturdy pillar. So if you harvest glowstone, you'll see it drops this sort of like dust, and that's exactly what it is. It's glowstone dust. 4 glowstone dust will make the block again, so we can actually use this as the block. If you mine this with a silk touch item, so a shovel or a pick, you will actually get the block rather than the drops. So that's always something to consider. I'm not going to take it all today, I'm just going to take enough for what I need to do. Like this. There we are. So next time we'll probably look at smelting a netherrack into nether bricks. And we will finish up the portal in the overworld side, the portal room in the overworld, should I say, is what we'll do next time. So I just want to kind of leave this in a semi-decent state. Yeah, that's fine. So before we go, I'll grab a bit more netherrack. We could always use a bit more of it. I want to make the floor of my little room on the other side the nether brick. Nether brick will naturally spawn in fortresses, by the way, and we will look at fortresses probably in a couple of tutorials time, but I want to make some instead because it's a lot easier to get and you don't desecrate the sacred places around here. It could upset the pigmen. I'm joking, it won't. The pigmen don't really care. Excuse me. My voice is beginning to run out now because I've been talking an awful lot this episode non-stop. So, I apologise for that. Let's just grab this netherrack. How much is that? Over 2 stacks worth. I think that should cover us. So fires will be naturally around in the nether, so always be careful of that. That's the end of that pickaxe. And always be careful of the ambient lava threat too. One thing to consider with lighting in the nether is mobs aren't affected by light level in the nether, so pigmen will still spawn. And ghast will still spawn. Ah, there's some soul sand. This stuff is soul sand. So that's always something to consider too. With the skeletons, however, and I believe blazes and normal skeletons can be shut off with light, but generally around the nether they can't, so always bear that in mind. So nether quartz, by the way, and we'll look at this more in the nether quartz tutorial. I'm beginning to ramble here, but this will not stay permanently on fire. I just wanted to mention that quickly if you decide you want to grab yourself some quartz and mess around yourself. I'm not going to need any soul sand right now, so I'm going to leave that alone. And I think we're pretty much done here in the nether now. There's not a whole lot more to say about it really. So I think we'll head back to the overworld now. Off camera I'm probably going to do a bit of exploring to see if I can track down a fortress of some sort, as well as bring some more tools around here to try and get a bit more netherrack maybe. I don't know. Well, we'll see. But for now, that's all we need to talk about in the nether, so let's head back to the overworld just by using this portal again. And one thing that we do need to talk about in terms of portals is that multiple portals in the same area. Whoa. Whoa, what the... Whoa. Is it because I'm on that graphics setting? Because this looks strange. Let's put that back on. That's better. And we'll put the smooth lighting back on as well. Oh, that already is on. Alright, well, that's strange. What was I saying again? Oh, right, yeah, about nether portals. Nether portals, if 2 of them are near each other, it can cause conflicts. There is quite a lot of logic to understand to how portals properly work. What I will say is, if you want to build another nether portal, say to leave the nether and go somewhere else, build it at least 1024 blocks away from the portal, either in the overworld side or in the nether side. Always make sure it's beyond 1024 blocks for the simplistic stuff. If you want to understand more portal mechanics, go on the wiki. That I can't explain that. I don't understand it all that well, so I don't want to be telling you the wrong information in that sense. So always check the wiki on stuff like that, because it's all technical and I don't understand it. Just make sure that they're built over 1024 blocks away, because the way that the nether and overworld work is 1 block in the nether is equivalent to 8. Sorry, yeah, 8 in the overworld. That's right. 1 in the nether is equivalent to 8 in the overworld. So if you travel 1 block in the overworld, does that make it 8 in the nether? I don't know. I'm rambling away now, but something like that anyway. So people use portals for fast travel to get around to their different places, for example strongholds and other bases they may have in the world. Some servers use them, but to fully understand the logic behind that, I would study the wiki for that. I'm more of an adventure kind of guy when it comes to the nether, rather than knowing the ins and outs and stuff. I tend to leave that to other people. So before we leave, I want to show you how to craft the glowstone block, which is 4 like that, and then 4 will give you 1 glowstone. I want to make a bunch of these. In fact, I'm just going to convert them all down. And then I want to finish up this guy right here. At last we can put the netherrack in. There's an enderman around here. Is he inside? You inside my house? He must be underneath. I think there's a cave nearby underneath here. That's probably why. Now I hope this isn't going to burn because it's too near. But there we are. Finished. How many episodes has it been and how many months has it been since we did this tutorial and we never finished it? But there we are. Finished. All done. Yeah, I can hear the bats. There's a cave down there. I'll probably check that out another time. But there we are. Netherrack can be lit permanently in the overworld, so that's always good news. So I'm just going to head back to the cottage now. I'm going to show you the glowstone block and what it can do. We'll look at it underwater more when we look at underwater mechanics and stuff. We're not going to do that right now because this tutorial is getting on a bit. It's kind of getting a bit long, so we're going to cut it out after I've done this, and then we'll re-examine that in a couple of episodes' time. So next tutorial we'll look at the nether brick, the item, and crafting some nether bricks, and then after that we might go back to the nether and do fortresses, is what I'm thinking. So we can finally get rid of these darn torches that I had to leave around here because I was having concerns with it being too dark. Now I kind of want it not to be directly in the corner. I would prefer it to be maybe here. Is that going to work on the other side though? Yes it is, just. Oh, wait, no it's not. Is it? 1, 2, 3. Oh yes it does. Excellent. 1, 2, 3, and I can put that right there. And 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put that right there. Perfect. Fill you in. Finally pick that up. So that should help solve the lighting issues at last in this place. So always be aware that there is going to be flammable materials around when using netherrack, flint and steel and so on. Just like you would with lava in the overworld, just be careful about it. Stuff like wool is highly flammable, so I wouldn't put a fireplace in here. I prefer to use that for furnaces. So yeah, that pretty much covers it for today guys. I hope that you found this tutorial on the nether realm interesting and useful. I hope that you will have many fun adventures in the nether now. Kind of more of a rambly episode than anything, but trust me, it's worth it in the long run. We'll be getting more into nether based stuff soon. So as I say, next tutorial we will look at the smelting of the netherrack into nether bricks, which is probably going to be a short one, to be honest. There's not too much to discuss with that. Then we'll probably move on and do nether fortresses. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope to see you in the next episode. The world is always available for download. I know I've not put them up recently. I'm going to update them all after this video. It might be maybe an hour or two after this video that I actually get around to doing it, but I have all the world files saved, so I will do that. I will update the worlds for everything up to this episode, so you can download the world if you want to play around in my nether. Alright, so I think that pretty much covers it. I'm going to head off now guys. I hope that you've had fun, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will see you later. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.